Hello, bedtime thinkers, and welcome to the Bedtime Discoveries. I'm so glad you are here tonight, ready to relax, unwind, and drift gently into rest. Tonight, let us wander into the quiet world of vision. We often take our eyes for granted, yet they are remarkable gateways, allowing us to see colors, shapes, movement, and light. From the tiniest sparkle of a star to the warmth in a loved one's smile, your eyes carry the world to your mind. Before we begin our journey, I'd love to know, where are you listening from tonight? And what time of evening is it for you? You can share in the comments if you'd like. And if you find peace in these bedtime discoveries, please gently tap the like button and subscribe so that we can continue this calming journey together. Close your eyes for just a moment. The world around you fade away. Colors vanish. Shapes disappear. And familiar outlines of life dissolve into darkness. Now, open them again and notice how effortlessly light pours back in, restoring everything, the textures, the movements, the gentle glow of your surroundings. This simple act, opening and closing your eyes, reminds us of how precious vision truly is. It is a gift that most of us use from the moment we wake to the moment we rest at night. And yet, because it is always there, it is so easy to forget its quiet miracle. The gift of vision is not just about seeing objects. It is about connection. It allows us to notice the smile of someone we love, the shimmer of sunlight on water, the soft dance of leaves in the evening wind. It brings us closer to beauty, and it anchors us in reality. Science tells us that vision is one of the most complex senses. Nearly half of the human brain is involved in processing visual information. That means whenever you're looking around, your brain is working tirelessly, piecing together a constant stream of images, movement, and light. It does this so seamlessly that you rarely notice the effort behind the experience. Imagine for a moment the first time a child sees the ocean. Their eyes widen as the vast blue horizon stretches endlessly before them. The waves sparkle under the sun, shifting between shades of turquoise and deep navy. To that child, this is more than just water. It is a memory, a feeling, a wonder, all woven together through vision. Or think of a painter standing before a blank canvas. The brush touches color, guided by what the eyes perceive. Every stroke, every shade, comes from the interplay of sight and imagination. Vision gives life to creativity, and creativity gives life back to vision. The gift of vision is also about survival. Our ancestors relied on it to navigate forests, to spot food, to sense danger in the shadows. Even today, sight helps us recognize the world quickly. A red traffic light, a familiar face in a crowd, or the comforting glow of home after a long day. Yet, vision is not simply mechanical. It is deeply emotional. A single image can move us, inspire us, or even bring tears to our eyes. Consider how a photograph of someone dear to you can stir feelings, even when that person is far away. Vision reaches into the heart, binding memory and emotion together. And so, when we say the gift of vision, we are speaking not just eyes, but an experience, a silent, continuous conversation between the outside world and the mind within. Take a breath here. Allow yourself to notice your own sight. Look gently around the room. Notice the way light falls on the wall, the way shadows soften, the way colors exist side by side. This is your world, presented to you through the gift of vision. Vision is a storyteller. Everywhere you look, it narrates a tale. Think of a sunrise. At first, the sky is dim, quiet, almost asleep. Then, slowly, color creeps in soft pinks, glowing oranges, tender blues. Your eyes catch each shade, each shift in the horizon. The story begins in darkness, moves through awakening light, and concludes in the warmth of a new day. Your eyes tell you the story, not with words, but with images. There's another story, the story of connection. When you meet someone's gaze, something subtle happens. Without speaking, you can share emotions, comfort, kindness, curiosity, or even love. The eyes are windows, not only to the world outside, but also to the world inside each of us. Consider for a moment a traveler arriving in a new city. They look around at the tall buildings, the unfamiliar streets, the faces of strangers. Through their eyes, the story of discovery begins. Every glance becomes a detail. The sparkle of shop windows, the patterns of lights after sunset, the gentle rhythm of people moving about. The traveler's eyes gather these moments, weaving them into memory. Vision also preserves stories of the past. When you look at an old photograph, your eyes recognize details that bring memories rushing back. The curve of a smile, the style of clothing, the brightness of a moment frozen in time. Through vision, the past feels close, almost alive again. In this way, vision is more than just a physical sense. It is a bridge across time. It connects you to what you are seeing now, but also to what you once saw and what you will see in the future. Your eyes collect a lifetime of images, and your mind arranges them into the story of your life. This is why, in so many cultures, vision and eyes are symbols of wisdom, awareness, and truth. Eyes are painted in art, described in poetry, and remembered in songs. They are seen as guides, as reflections of the soul, as reminders of the human journey. Let yourself feel this for a moment. Close your eyes once more. Picture something that moves you, a landscape, a person, a small detail you once noticed. Allow the image to return softly in your mind's eye. Even in darkness, vision finds a way to tell its story. To truly understand the gift of vision, it helps to imagine life without it. For those who cannot see, the world is built through sound, touch, and memory. Yet even in darkness, the mind is active, vivid, and strong. This reminds us that vision is precious, but it is not the only way to experience life. Still, for those who have it, sight is an extraordinary companion. Think of how it guides you every single day. It helps you walk safely, read words on a page, enjoy the patterns of art, and navigate the world without effort. In the quiet moments, sight offers comfort. The glow of a lamp, the shimmer of candlelight, the sparkle of stars scattered across the sky. These are small gifts, yet each brings peace, wonder, and grounding. Science tells us that the human eye can distinguish millions of colors. Every shade of green in a forest, every subtle tint in a sunset, every sparkle in a gemstone. Your eyes are capable of sensing these differences, even if you don't always notice them. They are sensitive instruments, designed by evolution, honed through countless generations. And yet, they work so quietly, you rarely pause to thank them. So tonight, let us pause. Let us acknowledge how remarkable it is to open your eyes and simply see. The ordinary becomes extraordinary when you look closely enough. A raindrop on a window, a flower blooming, the gentle curve of shadow. All of these are daily miracles, available through the gift of vision. As you drift towards rest, allow your eyes to soften. Let them close slowly, knowing that even in the dark, your mind still carries the images of the day. Vision does not end when your eyes close. It transforms into dreams, into imagination, into an inner world of sight that is uniquely yours. The gift of vision is not only about what we see with our eyes. It is about what we carry with us inside. Imagine standing before a beautiful old house. The walls may be strong, the roof may be protective, but it is the windows that allow the light to come in. Without them, the house would remain dark, closed off from the world outside. Your eyes, too, have windows. At the very front lies the cornea, a thin, crystal-clear layer, curved like the surface of a delicate glass dome. It is the first gateway for light, the very first structure that welcomes the outside world into you. Every single moment you are awake, light passes through this window, unnoticed yet essential. When you gaze at the sky, when you look at a loved one's face, when you notice the details of a flower petal, all of it begins here, at the cornea. The cornea is extraordinary, not only because it is clear, but because of its precision. It bends incoming light, directing it toward the deeper parts of your eye. It does so without you ever having to think about it. In fact, the cornea provides about 2/3 of your eye's focusing power. This means before the lens even begins its work, the cornea has already shaped the light, preparing it for vision. Now, imagine water flowing through a glass window pane. If the glass is perfectly smooth, the water flows evenly, undisturbed. But if the glass is scratched or warped, the flow scatters, becoming unclear. In the same way, if the cornea is smooth and healthy, your vision is sharp. If it is scarred or cloudy, the world looks blurred, as though you are gazing through fog. Behind the cornea lies another remarkable structure, the lens. Unlike the cornea, which has a fixed shape, the lens is flexible. It changes its curve, adjusting so that near objects and far objects both come into focus. Think of it as a tiny, living magnifying glass, always shifting to give you clarity. When you read a book up close, your lens bulges gently, bending light more strongly. When you look at a distant horizon, the lens flattens, bending light less so you can see far away. This constant adjustment happens quietly, thousands of times a day. The cornea and lens together form a team, the first windows, the first sculptors of light, one fixed and strong, the other flexible and delicate. Together, they transform raw light into a focused path, guiding it deeper into the eye. Pause for a moment and imagine yourself standing at a real window. Outside, there may be sunlight, trees, clouds drifting slowly across the sky. The window before you is clear, letting you see. Now picture that same clarity happening at a microscopic level, inside your own eye with every single blink. It is quiet, constant, and miraculous. The cornea and lens do more than bend light. They also protect. Like the windows of a house keep out rain and dust, these structures keep your eyes safe from harm. The cornea has no blood vessels. If it did, your vision would be blocked. Instead, it relies on tears and tiny surrounding tissues for nourishment. Every time you blink, a thin film of tears washes across the cornea, giving it oxygen, keeping it moist and clearing away dust. This tear film is delicate, yet powerful. It contains water for hydration, oils for smoothness, and enzymes that fight bacteria. With every blink, you refresh this protective layer, like pulling a fresh curtain across a window. Behind the cornea, the lens sits quietly, shielded by fluids. Unlike most parts of the body, the lens has no nerves, no blood supply, and no repair system. Once its cells are formed in early life, they stay with you forever. It is one of the few parts of the human body that does not regenerate, and yet it remains clear for decades, allowing you to see the world. Only with time, in later years, does the lens sometimes cloud, forming what we call cataracts. When this happens, the world begins to look hazy, as though a misty veil covers everything. But here, too, science has found ways to restore clarity. Cataract surgery, one of the most common medical procedures in the world, replaces the clouded lens with an artificial one. And so, even when nature fades, medicine finds a way to keep the window open. Think of the symbolism here. Your eyes are not only windows, they are also guardians. The cornea guard against injury. The lens holds clarity for a lifetime, and together they form a silent defense system, keeping vision alive. Imagine now a fragile glass lantern in the night. Its glass is thin, its flame gentle. Yet if you protect it, it glows steadily, casting light far into the darkness. Your cornea and lens like that, fragile, yet steady, always carrying light inward so that you may see. What makes the cornea and lens even more special is that they shape not only the light, but also your experience. Think of eyeglasses or contact lenses. When your natural windows bend light imperfectly, perhaps because of nearsightedness, farsightedness, or astigmatism, these external lenses step in. They redirect the light, correcting the path so that clarity returns. It is a reminder that vision depends on alignment, on harmony, on the perfect guiding of light. There are stories of people seeing clearly for the first time with glasses. A child in school, struggling to read the board, suddenly putting on a new pair of lenses, and the letters become sharp, the world crisp. In that moment, the window of the eye, helped by human invention, opens fully, letting the world rush in. Vision is never just mechanical. It shapes how we feel, how we live, how we connect. When you look out a clear window on a rainy day, watching droplets slide down a glass, there's a calmness, a stillness. When you gaze through a stained glass window in a cathedral, colored light floods in and the world feels sacred. In the same way, your own inner windows, the cornea and lens, shape not only clarity, but also mood, memory, and meaning. And just as windows need care, so too do your eyes. Rest, hydration, protection from harsh light. These small acts preserve the clarity of the cornea and the flexibility of the lens. Every blink is like polishing the glass. Every moment of rest is like letting the windows cool under the shade. So tonight, think of your eyes as beautiful windows set gently within you. Through them, light enters and the story of vision begins. Without them, the world will remain unseen, unshaped. But with them, every sunrise, every smile, every small detail of life is revealed. The cornea, steady and strong. The lens, flexible and adaptive. Together, they are the window of the eye, the beginning of sight, the gateway to the gift of vision. Close your eyes for just a moment. Notice the darkness behind your eyelids. Now, imagine the instant you open them, how light rushes in, spilling across your vision, revealing the world around you. Everything you see begins with light. Without light, there will be no colors, no shapes, no details. The gift of vision is really the gift of light. But light by itself is wild and unshaped. It travels in straight lines, bouncing off objects in every direction. When you look at a tree, for example, light reflects off its leaves, its bark, its branches. Billions of rays scatter outward, some finding their way to your eye. Yet, if those rays enter without guidance, the image would be chaotic, a blur of brightness with no form. What makes vision possible is the delicate art of focus. Your eye bends the rays, gathering them, bringing them together, so that a sharp picture forms on a retina at the back of your eye. Think of a magnifying glass held under the sun. When the lens is tilted just right, the scattered sunlight comes together into a tiny, bright point. In that moment, the wild rays find harmony. Your eyes are doing something similar all the time, shaping chaos into clarity. The cornea, with its smooth curve, is the first to bend light. The lens and refines it, adjusting for near or far. Together, they create a focused image, neat and orderly, ready to be read by the retina. Imagine standing at the shore of a lake. If the water is rippled, the reflection of the trees above is distorted. But when the water becomes calm and still, the reflection sharpens, becoming clear. Focus is like that calmness. It turns scattered waves of light into a stable picture. Without focus, the world loses its edges. Letters blur on a page. Faces become indistinct. Distance is hard to judge. But with focus, the details return. The fine veins in a leaf, the sparkle of sunlight on water, the gentle expression on a loved one's face. So tonight, as you rest, think of your eyes as quiet sculptors of light. Every second, they guide countless rays into perfect order, giving you the world in sharpness, depth, and meaning. The science of focus is fascinating, but it is also deeply human. Consider a child learning to read. They lean close to the page, squinting at the letters, struggling to make sense of them. Perhaps their focus is imperfect. Their eyes bend light too strongly or too weakly. The world looks blurred, like a painting smudge at the edges. Then, the child puts on glasses for the very first time. Suddenly, the letters are sharp, the world is defined. They gasp, sometimes even smile, as if a hidden layer of life has been revealed. This moment, when blur becomes clarity, is one of the most powerful reminders of the importance of focus. Or imagine a traveler in a foggy landscape. The shapes of trees and hills are vague, ghostly, but as the fog lifts, the scene sharpens into detail. Every leaf, every stone, every blade of grass visible. The eyes experience something similar each day, moving between blur and clarity, adjusting focus as needed. Your lens, like a living magnifier, constantly shifts. When you look at your hand, the lens thickens, bending light more strongly. When you glance at the stars above, it flattens, bending light more gently. This silent adjustment is called accommodation. Sometimes, however, the system is not perfect. In nearsightedness, light focuses before it reaches the retina, making distant objects blurry. In farsightedness, light focuses behind the retina, making close objects hard to see. And in astigmatism, the cornea's curve is uneven, scattering light unevenly. But even in imperfection, there is beauty. The blur of distant city lights at night becomes a soft halo, glowing like stars. The lack of sharpness can sometimes make the world look like a painting, dreamlike and gentle. In fact, artists often mimic this blur to evoke feeling. The impressionist brushstrokes of Monet, the soft edges in Turner's skies. Blur is not always loss. Sometimes it is poetry. Focus, then, is not only about accuracy. It is about balance, the harmony between light, lens, and distance. Too much sharpness, and the world can feel harsh, unforgiving. A little softness, a little blur, and the world becomes tender, almost magical. There is another kind of focus, not just of light, but of attention. When you gaze at something, your eyes sharpen the picture, but your mind also chooses what to notice. You might focus on the petals of a flower, ignoring the background, or on the face of a friend in a busy crowd, letting the noise fade away. Vision is not just mechanical focusing. It is a collaboration between eye and brain. Your mind decides what is important, and your eyes obey, shifting clarity toward it. This is why, when you're deeply absorbed in a book, the world around you fades. Your eyes focus on the page, but your mind focuses on the story. The rest of the room becomes a blur, unnoticed. In this sense, focus is as much about the soul as it is about science. It reminds us to choose where to place our attention, where to look, what to value. The eye can bring clarity to light, but only you can bring clarity to life. There are stories of great thinkers, artists, and dreamers who spoke of focus not only in sight, but in spirit. Leonardo da Vinci, fascinated by the way light bent and shadows formed, sketched endlessly, training both his eyes and his mind. Photographers, too, speak of focus as an art, deciding not just what to capture clearly, but what to leave soft, hidden, suggestive. And just as your eyes shift between blur and clarity, so too does life. Some moments are sharp, precise, unforgettable. Others are hazy, softened by time. Both are valuable. Both are part of the human experience. So tonight, as you rest, think of light traveling into your eyes, scattered, chaotic, then slowly brought into order. Think of how, without effort, your eyes focus the rays, turning blur into clarity. And think also of the inner focus, the gentle choice of where to place your attention, what to hold on to, what to release. Focus is both science and poetry. It is the bending of light and the shaping of life. It is clarity and softness, accuracy and dream. Through focus, the eye transforms wild light into vision, and the soul transforms vision into meaning. Imagine standing in a quiet room where the curtains are drawn. Only a narrow opening lets sunlight slip through. That small gap decides how much of the outside world enters the space. In your eyes, that narrow gate is a pupil. It is a dark circle in the center, always shifting, always alive. It looks simple, but it is far more than a black dot. It is the living doorway that controls how much light enters your eye. Around this dark gate lies the iris. It is a ring of color, unique to each person. Blue like the sky, green like the sea, brown like rich earth, gray like mist. The iris is not only beauty, it is also function. It is the muscle that opens and closes the pupil, adjusting the light like the shutters of a window. When you step into bright sunlight, your pupils shrink, becoming tiny pinpoints. This prevents too much light from overwhelming the retina. When you walk into a dark room, they widen, opening like a night flower, inviting in more light so that you can see. This constant adjustment is called the pupillary reflex, and it happens without your control, without your thought. Your eyes are always measuring, balancing, protecting. They are like gentle guardians, making sure that the world never blinds you and never leaves you in total darkness. Imagine a camera with its aperture opening and closing. In fact, the design of cameras was inspired by the human eye. The pupil is the aperture, the iris the mechanism that controls it. But unlike cameras, your eyes adjust almost instantly with elegance and ease. Take a moment to test it. Cover one eye with your hand for a few seconds, then uncover it and look into a mirror. You will see the pupil shift quickly, shrinking or widening as it adapts to the light. It is a small movement, but it is life itself, a silent adjustment that happens every moment you are awake. The pupil and iris together are the gate of light. Without them, the world would be overwhelming, too bright or too dim. With them, the world is balanced, always adjusted for comfort, always ready to be seen. The pupil is not only a gate, it is also a communicator. It speaks a language of its own, silent yet powerful. When you are startled, your pupils widen. When you see something you love, they widen too. In moments of fear, joy, or wonder, the pupil expands, as though the body itself is saying, I want to take more of this in. This is why poets and artists have long described eyes as mirrors of the soul. They do not only show light, they reveal emotion. Imagine two people sitting together, talking softly. Their eyes meet. Their pupils dilate in response to each other. Neither controls it, yet both feel it. It is an unspoken bond, a quiet connection that deepens a moment. In psychology, this response has been studied for decades. The widening of pupils is linked to attraction, curiosity, and interest. In fact, in ancient times, women in certain cultures used extract of the belladonna plant to dilate their pupils, because wide pupils were seen as a sign of beauty. Though dangerous, this practice reflected a truth that still exists. Pupils tell stories that words sometimes cannot. There is also another story of medicine and care. Doctors often shine a small light into the eyes of patients, watching the pupils shrink. This simple test can reveal the health of the nervous system, the balance of the brain, the presence of illness or injury. In this way, the pupil is a messenger not only of emotion, but of health. Think of it this way. Your pupils are constantly shifting, constantly responding to the world. They are like gentle tides, rising and falling with light, with feeling, with life itself. You do not notice it, but the rhythm is there always. So next time you look into a mirror, pause for a moment at your pupils. Notice their depth, their movement, their quiet intelligence. Behind that dark circle lies a world of response, a world of language without words. Now let us turn to the iris, the colored ring that surrounds the pupil. The iris is a canvas, painted uniquely for each person. No two are alike, just as no two fingerprints are alike. Some eyes are a deep brown, warm and grounding. Others are blue, as though they hold a piece of sky within. Some are green, rare and mysterious, like hidden forests. Others are gray, shifting like storm clouds. And many eyes carry flecks of multiple colors, golden rings or darker halos, making them even more unique. Science tells us that iris color is determined by genetics, by the way light scatters through layers of pigment. But to us, iris color is more than science. It is identity. It is beauty. It is a mark of individuality, shining quietly in every gaze. Throughout history, eyes have been celebrated for their color. Writers describe lovers' eyes as oceans, as stars, as flames. Artists paint them with detail, capturing not only the color but the feeling they evoke. In portraits, the eyes often become the soul of the painting, drawing the viewer in. The iris is also alive with motion. Tiny muscles within it expand and contract, pulling the pupil wider or smaller. It is both artist and engineer, painter and guardian. Its colors delight us, but its work sustains us. Think for a moment of your own eyes. Picture their color, their pattern. Imagine someone you love looking into them, noticing their depth. It is a reminder that eyes are not only for seeing, they are also for being seen. So tonight, let your imagination rest upon this thought. Your pupils and iris are not just parts of the eye. They are gates, guardians, messengers, and works of art. They regulate light. They reveal emotion. They carry beauty. They are the living doorway through which the world enters you, and through which others glimpse a part of your soul. Imagine stepping into a vast gallery, silent and serene. The walls are blank at first, but slowly colors and shapes begin to appear. A flower blossoms, a face smiles, a sky stretches into blue. It feels like magic, a canvas filling itself with the world. This gallery lives inside you. It is called the retina, a thin layer of tissue at the back of the eye, yet so powerful, so delicate. It is a true canvas of vision, where light becomes sight. Light, after its long journey through the cornea, the lens, and the pupil, finally arrives here. It has been bent, focused, guided, all so that it may land on this fragile surface. The retina receives it, captures it, translates it. The retina is not flat and lifeless. It is alive, filled with millions of specialized cells. Some sense brightness, others sense color. Together, they transform light into tiny sparks of electricity. These sparks travel along the optic nerve, carrying the world to your brain. Imagine standing on a beach at night, watching lightning in the distance. Flashes of brightness reach your eyes, and in an instant, you know what you've seen. This instant transformation from light to understanding begins at the retina. The retina is like a translator between two languages, the language of light and the language of the brain. Without it, the brain would remain in darkness, blind to the beauty around it. It is extraordinary to think that such a thin layer of cells, no thicker than paper, holds the key to vision. Yet it works tirelessly, faithfully, every moment of your waking life. It is both fragile and strong, delicate yet essential. So, when you open your eyes each morning, remember that the world appears not simply because of the sun or the sky. It appears because of the thin living canvas, quietly painting light into meaning moment by moment. On this canvas of vision live two types of artists, rods and cones. The rods are the keepers of the night. They are sensitive to faint light, able to see in shadows and moonlit silence. They do not show color, only shades of gray, but they give us the gift of night vision. Thanks to rods, we can walk beneath the stars or see shapes moving in twilight. The cones are the painters of the day. They bring color, sharpness, detail. There are three types. Some sense red, some sense green, some sense blue. Together, they blend their signals, allowing us to see every shade, every hue, from the soft pink of dawn to the golden glow of sunset. When rods and cones work together, the world is vivid and full. When one type falters, vision changes. For some people, certain cones do not work, and colors shift. Red may appear as brown, green may blend into gray. This is what we call color blindness. Not a flaw, but simply a different way of seeing the canvas of life. Think for a moment of your own vision. Think of the last time you saw a rainbow, each color arching across the sky. That rainbow existed not only in the world, but also in your retina. Your cones blended light into beauty. Or recall a quiet night when the world was dim but still visible. That was your rods at work, gently whispering shapes to your brain. Even when color disappears, vision continues, thanks to their sensitivity. The rods and cones are like two artists painting together on the same canvas. One paints in black and white, the other in vibrant colors. One works in the shadows, the other in the light. Together, they ensure that no matter the hour, no matter the place, your eyes are never empty. So the next time you see a field of flowers in daylight or a glowing city at night, pause for a moment. Know that it is not only the outside world you are seeing. It is also the quiet, tireless artistry of rods and cones, deep within your eyes. In the very center of the retina lies a small, special place, the fovea. It is no bigger than a pinhead, yet it is the sharpest point of vision. When you read these words, it is your fovea that allows the letters to appear crisp. When you look into a friend's eyes, it is your fovea that brings them into focus. The fovea is densely packed with cones, especially those sensitive to fine detail. It is like a magnifying glass within your eye, devoted to clarity. Around it, vision becomes less sharp, softer, more suited to motion and shape. But in the fovea, every detail blooms. Outside the fovea rods begin to dominate. This is why your peripheral vision is better in the dark. The rods there are highly sensitive, even when your central vision struggles. Imagine standing in a forest at night. If you look directly at a faint star above, it seems to vanish, but if you look slightly to the side, it reappears. This is the work of rods, alive at the edges of your sight. The retina is not the same everywhere. Each region has its own purpose. Sharpness in the center, sensitivity at the edges, balance in between. Together, they form a complete picture, full of detail, motion, and depth. And yet, the retina is more than just sight. It is also a part of your nervous system, an extension of the brain itself. When light touches it, the brain is already involved, already listening. This is why vision feels immediate, why the world seems to flow directly into awareness. So, as you rest here tonight, let this thought comfort you. Behind your eyes lies a living canvas, painted not with brushes but with light itself. On that canvas, rods and cones weave day and night, color and shadow. At its center, the fovea sharpens the details, while the edges stay open to movement and change. Your retina is both gallery and artist. It holds the world, it creates the world, it delivers the world, all in silence, all in darkness, so that you may live in light. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a river at night. It is quiet, steady, flowing in one direction. You cannot see where it begins, you cannot see where it ends, but you know it connects distant places. The optic nerve is such a river. It carries messages from the retina, flowing silently into the brain. Without it, the light that falls upon your eyes would remain trapped, unable to become vision. The retina, as we've explored, is a canvas. It paints with rods and cones, with brightness and color. But paintings do not move on their own. They must be carried, shared, delivered. The optic nerve is the courier, the messenger, the bridge. It is made of more than 1,000,000 tiny fibers. Each fiber is like a thread, thin but purposeful. Together, they form a cable, strong and delicate at once. Every thread carries a small part of the world, a sliver of light, a fragment of shape, a touch of color. Imagine standing in front of a stained glass window. Each piece of glass is separate, small, unique. But when sunlight passes through, all the pieces together form a glowing image. The optic nerve works in a similar way. Every fiber carries a fragment, and together they bring the full picture to the brain. The journey is swift, almost instant. In less than a heartbeat, the optic nerve delivers what the retina has captured. This is why the world feels continuous, seamless. Light touches the eye, and immediately you know what you see. And yet, for all its speed and power, the optic nerve is silent. It makes no sound. It has no movement you can feel. It is a hidden river, flowing in the dark, carrying the world into awareness. As you rest tonight, you might think of this river within you, always flowing, always carrying, always connecting your eyes to your mind. You may not see it, but without it, you would not see it all. The optic nerve has a beginning. It starts at the retina, where all the fibers gather, leaving through a small opening at the back of the eye. This opening is called the optic disc. Here, there are no rods, no cones, no light can be detected. This creates what we call the blind spot, a small place in every eye where vision simply disappears. And yet, most of the time, you never notice it. Why? Because your brain is clever. It fills in the gap. If the blind spot falls on a patch of sky, the brain paints more sky. If it falls on a wall, the brain extends a wall. If it falls on a pattern, The brain continues the pattern. The blind spot is like a tiny missing piece in a puzzle, which the mind quietly replaces. You live with this absence every day, yet your experience of vision feels whole. Think of how remarkable this is. Your eyes, though marvelous, have gaps and limits, but your brain, ever adaptive, does not allow you to dwell in absence. It completes the picture for you, effortlessly, seamlessly. There is comfort in this thought. Even when something is missing, the mind finds a way to make the world feel complete. Even when there is a gap, perception flows as though it were whole. The blind spot reminds us that vision is not just the eye. It is eye and brain together. The optic nerve carries the signals, but the brain interprets them, fills them, weaves them into meaning. Without this partnership, the world would appear broken, full of holes. So, the next time you gaze at the sky or at a familiar room, remember there are unseen spaces in your vision, but your brain, gently and quietly, is always filling them with light. The journey of the optic nerve does not stay simple. It does not remain two separate rivers, left and right, flowing straight ahead. Instead, it reaches a place of crossing, a meeting point called the optic chiasm. Here, some of the fibers from each eye cross over to the other side of the brain. It is as though two rivers meet and stream from each flow into the other. Why does this happen? Because vision must be balanced. Your left eye does not only see for the left side, and your right eye does not only see for the right. Instead, each eye shares its view with both halves of the brain. This crossing ensures depth, coordination, harmony. Imagine standing before a vast landscape. Mountains stretch across the horizon. Your two eyes, slightly apart, see the world from slightly different angles. The optic chiasm allows these views to merge, creating depth. This is why you can sense how far the mountains are, why the world appears three-dimensional. From the optic chiasm, the fibers continue their journey deeper into the brain, into pathways that lead to the visual cortex at the back of the head. Here, the raw signals finally become images, awareness, sight. The optic nerve, then, is not only a messenger. It is part of grand design, where signals cross and merge, where fragments unite into vision. It is not just a cable, but a connection, a weaver of perspectives. Think of how beautifully this mirrors human experience. Two eyes, two streams of light, two perspectives, yet they must meet, cross, and combine to reveal the whole. Just as in life, sometimes clarity comes not from one view alone, but from the meeting of many. As you drift deeper into rest, let this image stay with you. Two rivers of light, crossing paths, joining, flowing together into the vast sea of the brain. Through them, the world enters you seamlessly, silently, endlessly. Imagine for a moment a thread of light beginning its journey, touching the back of your eye, dancing across the delicate surface of the retina. That light has been captured, transformed into signals, tiny sparks of electricity, waiting patiently for their path forward. But those sparks cannot simply remain behind your eye. They must travel, they must move, they must find their way to the command center of your mind. And so, the journey continues along one of the most remarkable highways in the body, the optic nerve. The optic nerve is not just a simple cord, not merely a strand of fibers bundled together. It is a bridge, a living cable made of over 1 million tiny nerve fibers, each one carrying its own whisper of light. Together, these fibers weave a river of information that flows from the eye through the socket and into the depths of the brain. Without it, vision would be incomplete, for the eye may see, but it is the brain that truly understands. When you picture the optic nerve, you might imagine a narrow cord stretching gently from the back of the eyeball, curving toward the brain. But in truth, it is far more intricate. Each fiber within the nerve is like a strand of thread, part of a tapestry that never tangles, never loses its way. Imagine a library where every page of every book must be delivered in the right order, perfectly, without delay. That is what the optic nerve does silently, thousands of times every second. If you pause here and close your eyes softly, you may notice that even in darkness, you're not entirely blind. Faint colors, drifting shapes and fragments of light may still appear, as if your optic nerve continues to echo the activity of the day. This is because the nerve, like an old friend, never truly rests. Even when your eyes are closed, it hums softly with a residue of vision, sending tiny signals, ready for the brain to interpret. The journey of light across the optic nerve is astonishingly fast. In less than a fraction of a second, what you see, a tree swaying, a face smiling, a star twinkling in the sky, is captured, translated, and carried as electrical messages. These messages travel at speeds up to 50 miles per hour, rushing forward so quickly that your mind never feels a delay. To you, vision feels instant, effortless, immediate. Yet behind the scenes, it is the optic nerve working tirelessly, stitching together a seamless picture of the world. Think of a river at night, carrying reflections of the moon across its surface. Just as the river moves those reflections from one point to another, the optic nerve moves your visual world from your eyes to your mind. It is both simple and profoundly beautiful. And in this stillness, as you breathe gently, you might begin to sense how precious this silent messenger is. Without it, the eyes would be like windows without a path leading inside. The light would fall upon them, but never reach the soul. The optic nerve is not only the messenger of sight, it is the invitation for the brain to dream awake. When we think of sight, we often imagine it as simple, one eye, one picture. But the truth is more magical, more mysterious. For in the quiet tunnels of your head, just beyond the eyes, the optic nerves of left and right do something remarkable. They meet, they cross, they share. This meeting place is called the optic chiasm. Imagine two rivers flowing side by side, and then, as if by some hidden design, certain streams from each river cross over to the other. At this point, the vision from each eye is not kept separate, but rather blended, divided, and woven into something greater. The right side of your brain receives signals from the left field of vision, and the left side of your brain receives signals from the right. It is a quiet, invisible exchange, a handshake between worlds. Why does this crossing matter? Because it allows your brain to compare, to overlap, and to build depth. Without it, your vision would be flat like a photograph, but with it, your world gains dimension, perspective, and a living sense of space. You can tell how far away a mountain stands, how close a book rests in your hands, how quickly a bird darts across the sky. All of this depth begins in that quiet moment, where the optic nerves cross like braided threads of light. Imagine standing in a forest, sunlight filtering through the leaves. Each eye sees its own image, slightly different, slightly shifted. But deep within your head, after passing to the optic nerves, these two images are joined, reconciled, and painted as one. That is why you see not double, but single, not blurred, but sharp, not flat, but alive. The optic nerve is more than a messenger. It is the keeper of balance between two perspectives. And as this happens, the nerve does not act alone. It carries its signals forward into deeper realms of the brain to the lateral geniculate nucleus, a relay station nestled in the thalamus. Here, the signals are sorted, prioritized, and organized. Imagine a post office sorting letters, each stamped with its origin and destination. The optic nerve delivers its parcels of light, and the brain begins a careful work of distribution. Yet what makes this process calming, almost dreamlike, is its silence. You never hear the crossing of the nerves, the sorting of the signals, the delicate weaving of left and right. To you, it all feels natural, effortless. But beneath the surface, it is a symphony of precision. Each fiber knows exactly where to go. Each spark of electricity knows its path, as if following a map written in the earliest days of your life. Perhaps you can imagine it now, two glowing streams of light, one from each eye, flowing inward, meeting at a golden crossing, then splitting, winding, and stretching toward the waiting canvas of the brain. The optic nerve is not only the core to sight, it is the river that allows your world to be whole. And so, when you gaze softly at the horizon, or when you let your eyes drift closed at night, remember this. Every line, every shape, every shadow you see has traveled this path across the optic nerves, through the chiasm, into the quiet depths of the mind. Vision is not simply received, it is journeyed, carried, and offered to you as a gift. As the streams of light travel along the optic nerve, crossing, weaving, and flowing into deeper regions of the brain, something remarkable begins to happen. The nerve, once only a bundle of fibers, becomes the storyteller of your sight. For in truth, the optic nerve does not show you pictures. It does not paint the green of trees or the blue of skies. Instead, it carries only sparks, pulses of electricity, small, coded whispers. And yet, within those whispers lies the possibility of entire worlds. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast library, each book closed, each page waiting. The optic nerve delivers these books to the brain, but it is the brain that opens them, reads them, and makes sense of their stories. Without this messenger, the library would be silent. With it, the shelves come alive. Each fiber of the optic nerve plays its role. Some fibers carry signals of shape, others of motion, others of light and shadow. Together, they create the alphabet of vision. It is only when they reach the brain's higher regions, the visual cortex, the painter we will meet soon, that these alphabets are turned into words, sentences, and meaning. Consider a simple moment, a child reaching out for their mother's hand. The optic nerve carries the curve of the fingers, the motion of the hand, the softness of its skin in light and shade. The brain, in turn, transforms it into recognition, warmth, and love. Without the optic nerve, there would be no hand to see, no connection to feel. It is the bridge between the outer world and the inner world, between matter and meaning, and it does all this so quietly. You are never aware of the trillions of sparks rushing through those fibers. You are never conscious of the crossing, the sorting, the delivering. To you, vision feels instant, effortless. But beneath that simplicity lies a hidden labor of the optic nerve, carrying messages at the speed of light, again and again, without pause. Sometimes, science reminds us of this hidden fragility, an injury to the optic nerve, a disease that silences its fibers, can dim or even erase sight. And yet, even here, there is a kind of wonder. For the very fact that we can see at all that light can be captured, coded, carried, and then turned into meaning is nothing short of miraculous. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice how the world of sight fades, replaced by the quiet darkness behind your eyelids. In that silence, the optic nerve rests, waiting. And when you open your eyes again, the spark resumes, the messages flow, and the world is returned to you. This rhythm of sight, of darkness, of sight again, is a gentle reminder of how deeply you depend on the silent messenger. The optic nerve is not just a cord of tissue. It is the bridge between outer reality and inner awareness. It is the path through which the world enters you and through which you come to know the world. Every tree, every face, Every star has traveled this path before arriving in your mind. And so, the next time you gaze at something beautiful, perhaps a flower or the quiet glow of the moon, pause for a moment. Imagine the light entering your eyes, captured by the retina, carried by the optic nerve, delivered into the waiting embrace of your brain. It is a journey both fragile and eternal, a journey that happens with every glance, every blink, every breath. The optic nerve is the messenger, the bridge, the silent thread of connection. And through it, your world is not only seen but felt, remembered, and cherished. When the optic nerve delivers its streams of coded light into the brain, something almost magical begins. The journey of sight does not end at the retina, nor at the nerve that carries its signals. Instead, it finds its true home in the vast landscape of the brain, where the painter waits with open hands, ready to turn sparks into pictures. This painter is not a single brush, but an orchestra of regions, each contributing its strokes. The first stop, deep within the back of the head, is the visual cortex, a sheet of neural canvas lying quietly in the occipital lobe. Here, the coded signals are unpacked, like paints being laid upon a palette. The visual cortex does not see a tree the way you do. It sees edges, contrasts, angles, and lines. A simple branch becomes a pattern of light and shadow. A leaf becomes a shape of green. The movement of the wind becomes shifting patches of brightness. At first, these are only fragments, pieces of a puzzle. But as they spread across the canvas, the picture slowly emerges. Imagine standing before a vast blank wall, and with every brushstroke, the shapes of the world begin to appear. First a line, then a curve, then a shadow, then the outline of a form. That is how your brain paints, assembling tiny fragments, layering them, until at last the full image comes alive. Consider a moment at dawn, when you step outside and see the soft glow of morning light. The optic nerve has carried the raw data, the subtle increase of brightness, the gentle shift of colors. But it is the brain's painter who gives it form. Suddenly, the horizon appears, the silhouette of trees rises, the sky glows with pale gold. Without this painter, the world will remain unfinished, scattered, incomplete. What is most beautiful is how silent and seamless this process feels. You never sense the brushstrokes. You never pause to see the fragments being assembled. To you, sight arrives all at once, a full picture, rich and immediate. And yet, deep inside, the painter is working tirelessly every second without rest. This painter is also flexible. If one part of the canvas is damaged, other regions can sometimes take over, adapting their brushes, finding new ways to fill in the missing pieces. This adaptability, called plasticity, is one of the brain's quiet strengths. It means that even when sight falters, the painter may still find ways to sketch outlines, shadows, or hints of meaning. The brain's painter is also deeply personal. It does not just paint what is in front of you. It colors the world with your memories, your emotions, your expectations. When you look at an old photograph, you do not only see the image, you feel the warmth of the moment, the voices that once filled the air, the emotion stitched into the scene. The painter does not simply reproduce reality. It weaves reality together with memory and meaning, creating a vision that is uniquely yours. In this way, no two people ever see the world in exactly the same way. Even when standing side by side, gazing at the same mountain or the same ocean, each person's painter adds its own touch, shaped by their experiences, their joys, their losses. Sight is not only physical, it is deeply human, deeply personal, deeply alive. The brain's painter is, in truth, the artist of your reality. Without it, The light carried by the optic nerve will remain a stream of meaningless sparks. With it, the sparks become trees, rivers, faces, skies. With it, the sparks become life itself. And so, each time you open your eyes, imagine the painter at work, a quiet, tireless artist, working in the background, painting the canvas of your mind with every glance, every blink, every breath. Once the first brushstrokes of sight are laid down by the visual cortex, the work is far from complete. A static outline, after all, is not enough to capture the fullness of the world. The painter must add layers, depth, motion, color, and context, so that the canvas of your mind does not remain flat, but instead blooms with life. Imagine an artist standing before a great canvas. They do not simply sketch the edges of a tree. They shade its bark, color its leaves, highlight the way sunlight filters between branches, and soften the shadows that fall across the ground. The brain's painter works in exactly this way, adding layer upon layer until the world feels whole, vibrant, and alive. One of its most subtle tools is motion detection. Special pathways within the brain's painter are tuned to notice movement, a flutter of wings, the sway of grass, the sudden dart of shadow. Without this layer, the world would feel strangely frozen, like a painting without life. With it, every step, every gesture, every ripple of water becomes a dance upon the canvas of your mind. Another layer is depth. Your two eyes capture slightly different views of the same scene, and the painter blends them together, giving you a sense of three-dimensional space. When you reach for a glass of water, you do so with confidence, because the painter has already calculated how far your hand must travel. When you watch a bird soaring in the sky, you feel the distance between you and it, even though the bird itself is no larger than a thumbprint on your retina. Depth is a gift of the painter's layering, a way of adding not just what things are, but where they are. And then comes color, that most enchanting of brushes. The painter does not simply spread wavelengths across the canvas. It assigns meaning. The warmth of a golden sunset, the freshness of green grass, the calm of a blue ocean. These are not just light frequencies. They are emotions, sensations, moods. The painter knows that color is not only for seeing, but for feeling. That is why certain colors can soothe you, excite you, or even remind you of places you once loved. Yet perhaps the most remarkable layer is context. The painter is not satisfied with copying the raw world. It wants to understand it. When you see a chair, you do not only see its shape and texture. You know it is something to sit on. When you see a face, you do not only see its outline. You recognize it, remember it, feel the bond you share with it. The painter ties vision to memory, to knowledge, to experience. It ensures that what you see is not just a picture, but a story you already know, or one you are just beginning to learn. Take, for example, a simple walk through a familiar street. The painter does not merely place buildings and windows on your canvas. It fills them with recognition. That is the bakery where you once bought fresh bread. That is the corner where you met a friend. That is a lamppost that glowed during a rainy evening. Every shape, every shade of light is wrapped in memory and meaning. Without this layer, the world would appear flat, unremarkable, unfamiliar. With it, the world becomes a tapestry of connections, a woven cloth of past and present. Even in dreams, the painter works. Have you noticed how the people and places in your dreams often feel familiar, even when they are strange? That is the painter dipping into memory, pulling old brushstrokes from the past and blending them into new scenes. The painter does not stop when your eyes are closed. It continues to paint endlessly, tirelessly, creating visions from the sparks of thought. But perhaps the most delicate of all its layers is the one that touches your emotions. A sunset can move you to stillness. A storm can fill you with awe. A gentle smile can bring comfort, even without words. The painter does not separate sight from feeling. It paints them together, as if the canvas of your mind were both an image and a heart. And so, vision is not just a copy of the world outside. It is a painting of the world as you live it, colored by your memories, shaped by your feelings, touched by your thoughts. The brain's painter is more than an artist. It is a storyteller, a composer, a dreamer. It gives you not only the world you see, but the world you experience. Each blink refreshes the canvas. Each glance adds new strokes. And though you may never feel the brush in motion, the masterpiece is always there before you, vivid, rich, and endlessly alive. The painter within your brain is not only skilled in detail and depth, but also in resilience. Unlike a canvas fixed in oil or watercolor, the canvas of your mind is alive, ever-changing, able to mend and reinvent itself. Imagine an artist who, after a sudden gust of wind scatters her pigments, simply dips the brush again and continues. The brain's painter works in this same spirit. When one pathway weakens, another may strengthen. When one eye falters, the other grows sharper. When light is absent, other senses are invited to lend their colors. This is not weakness, but creativity. Consider those who lose sight in one eye. The painter does not abandon them to a flat world. Instead, it learns to paint depth from shadows, perspective, and movement. The masterpiece changes, but it continues. Or think of those who gradually lose their sight entirely. Even then, the painter does not put down the brush. It turns instead to sound, to touch, to memory, painting with textures of feeling and echoes of sound. Vision, in truth, is not always about the eyes. It is about how the brain brings the world to life, no matter the tools at hand. This adaptability is perhaps most beautifully seen in phantom vision. Some people, even after losing their sight, continue to see flickers of light, shapes, or even vivid images. This is the painter, unwilling to let the canvas fall blank, still brushing with imagination, still layering visions upon the mind's inner world. Children, too, reveal the painter's creativity. A child may stare at clouds and see castles, animals, or faces. The painter does not scold them for inaccuracy. Instead, it delights in weaving imagination into vision. For to the painter, the world is not only what is, but also what could be. Every shadow can hold a story. Every light can sparkle with wonder. Even in adulthood, the painter's imagination never fully sleeps. Have you ever glimpsed movement in the corner of your eye, only to find nothing there? Or notice a shape in the darkness that turned out to be a coat on a chair? These are not failures of sight, but flourishes of the painter. Quick brushstrokes of imagination filling in the unknown, ensuring the canvas is never left incomplete. And when the painter meets adversity, a blurred lens, a damaged retina, a change in the optic nerve, it does not surrender. It rewires, repaints, and compensates. Neuroscientists call this plasticity, but you might simply call it the painter's persistence. It is a reminder that vision is not fragile, but enduring, sculpted by an artist who never tires. Perhaps the most magical of all is how the painter works with memory. Close your eyes now and picture a place you love, perhaps a quiet beach, perhaps a childhood room, perhaps the face of someone dear. Notice how easily the image appears. The painter needs no light, no lens, no retina. It paints directly upon your mind, drawing from the pigments of memory, blending them with the warmth of feeling. This is the painter's secret. Vision is not only about seeing, It is about remembering, imagining, and feeling in dreams. The painter is at its most daring, unbound by the rules of daylight. It creates visions that bend and twist, colors that glow impossibly bright, faces that shift like smoke. The dream world is a painter's private gallery, a place where imagination and memory merge into living art. When you dream, you step inside the canvas itself. And so, the brain's painter is more than a silent artist. It is a guardian of your inner world, ensuring that no matter what happens outside, the canvas within you is never left empty. It adapts when sight is lost, strengthens when vision is strained, and blooms with imagination when eyes are closed. Every day, with every blink, with every dream, the painter works, endlessly, quietly, faithfully. The world you see is not only a reflection of light, but a masterpiece of resilience and creativity, painted stroke by stroke within the folds of your brain. And so, as you open your eyes each morning, you step into a gallery unlike any other, a gallery painted by your own mind, alive with color, meaning, and wonder. When you open your eyes, the world does not appear as a flat painting. Instead, it feels alive with space. Trees stand tall in the distance. A cup rests closer to your hand. A bird swoops past with motion that seems to brush against your very breath. This sensation, this layering of the world, is called depth perception. And though it feels so natural, it is in truth a masterpiece of hidden processes. To begin, imagine holding one of your hands out in front of you. Close one eye, then the other. Notice how the hand seems to shift ever so slightly against the background. This difference is known as binocular disparity, and it is one of the brain's favorite tools for creating depth. Each of your eyes captures the world from a slightly different angle. Alone, these images would seem flat and incomplete, but together, your brain fuses them, like two halves of a story, into a single vivid perception of space. This ability is what allows you to judge the distance of a ball as it flies toward you, or to reach out and grasp an object with precision. Without it, the world would feel like a painting pressed too closely against your face, beautiful but strangely lifeless. Yet binocular vision is not the only brush the brain uses to paint depth. Even with one eye closed, you can still sense space, can still know that the mountains on the horizon are farther away than the tree nearby. How? Through monocular cues, subtle patterns of light, shadow, and perspective. A road that narrows as it stretches away. A lamp that casts a longer shadow at dusk than at noon. A ship that appears smaller as it sails into the distance. These are the painter's silent tricks, guiding you to feel the shape of space even when one eye rests. Consider, too, the way motion adds to the sense of depth. As you walk, objects closer to you seem to move faster across your field of view, while distant objects drift more slowly. This is called motion parallax, and it is like a moving brushstroke, constantly refreshing your sense of where things rest in space. The brain takes this shifting flow of patterns and turns it into a living, breathing world. And there is something quietly poetic about how much trust we place in this invisible painter. You step confidently downstairs, knowing where each step will land. You drive along winding roads, sensing the curve of distance ahead. Even now, as you sit or lie in comfort, your eyes are measuring, calculating, and presenting depth to you without effort, without pause. In stories of exploration, depth perception has always played a role. Sailors once judged the closeness of land not only by the horizon, but by the changing shapes of clouds and the shadows they cast upon the sea. Travelers in deserts use the bending of heat shimmer to tell distance. And even animals, from owls swooping at night to cats leaping from rooftop to rooftop, depend on this silent skill. Without depth, life would flatten. A forest would appear as a green wall, instead of a pathway between trunks. A city street would collapse into a jumble of colors and shapes, with no sense of distance. It is a quiet weaving of depth that makes the world walkable, navigable, and safe. And yet, beyond the safety it grants, depth is also what gives a world its beauty. Imagine standing on a cliff, gazing out at rolling hills fading into the horizon. It is not only the colors, not only the light, but the sense of endless space that stirs your breath. Depth is what makes the sky feel infinite, what makes a starry night stretch across your imagination, what makes the world feel vast and filled with wonder. So, when you next blink at the world before you, know that what you are seeing is not only light and shape, but a carefully painted tapestry of space. A tapestry stitched together by both eyes, enriched by shadows, carried by motion and alive with possibility. Close your eyes for a moment and picture sunrise. The horizon slowly brightens with pale pinks and oranges, deepening into gold. Now, imagine a forest in summer, the leaves glowing with layers of green, each shade whispering of life. Or perhaps a crimson rose, its petals rich and deep, stirring emotions you cannot quite name. Color, to us, feels like an inseparable part of reality. Yet, in truth, color is not a property of objects themselves. It is a story written by light and read by your eyes and brain. When light touches an object, some wavelengths are absorbed while others are reflected. A ripe strawberry absorbs most wavelengths, but reflects those we perceive as red. The sky scatters shorter, bluer wavelengths, painting the dome above with serenity. The world itself is not colored, it is only light. It is your eyes and your brain that transform this invisible code into the breathtaking palette of existence. Inside your retina live the guardians of color, the cones. There are 3 kinds, each tuned to a different range of light. One most sensitive to reds, another to greens, and another to blues. These 3 signals, when combined in countless variations, create the millions of colors you see every day. Much like the way 3 instruments can join to play endless melodies, your cones weave together the harmony of color. Yet cones are only the beginning. Once signals leave the eye, they travel along the optic nerve, passing to the thalamus, and then arriving at the visual cortex. Here, patterns are compared, refined, and expanded into what we experience as rich color. And what an emotional language color is. Think of how a gentle blue sky can soothe the mind, while a fiery red sunset can stir the heart. Cultures across history have wrapped meanings around colors. In ancient Egypt, green was a hue of rebirth. In China, red symbolized joy and fortune. In medieval Europe, blue cloaked the robes of the sacred. Color is not only physical, it is emotional, cultural, deeply human. Even in storytelling, color weaves its spell. Painters dip their brushes into it to capture mood. Poets borrow it to describe love, longing, and dreams. Filmmakers bathe scenes in specific tones to whisper emotions without words. Color does not merely fill the world. It sings through it, guiding feeling and memory. There are also colors beyond the limits of our eyes. Bees can see ultraviolet patterns on flowers, guiding them to nectar. Some birds and fish perceive hues we cannot imagine, their worlds painted with light invisible to us. And in the ocean's depths where sunlight cannot reach, creatures generate their own light through bioluminescence, painting darkness with blues, greens, and flickers of red. The universe itself holds colors human eyes may never perceive, a reminder that our vision is but one translation of a much larger spectrum. But even within our human world, color is deeply tied to perception of depth. Warm tones, reds, oranges, and yellows, often feel closer, while cooler tones, blues and greens, seem to recede. Painters use this trick, layering shades to create the illusion of distance on flat canvas. Our brains, too, lean on these signals, adding subtle strokes to the painting of space. It is worth pausing to marvel at how personal color is. Two people may look at the same sunset and describe it differently. Some may be colorblind, seeing the world with fewer hues, yet finding beauty in contrasts and textures others overlook. Some may experience synesthesia, where sounds or letters evoke colors that flow across their perception. To them, music becomes a rainbow, words a painted stream. And perhaps the most extraordinary truth of all, color is born in the brain. Without perception, without eyes to see and a mind to interpret, color does not exist in the physical sense. It is a dream painted onto reality, a gentle story whispered by light, but completed by you. So, the next time you marvel at a green forest, a golden candle flame, or the endless blues of ocean and sky, remember that you are not only witnessing the world, you are helping to create it. Imagine standing before a great painting in a quiet museum. The canvas is flat, motionless, yet as you gaze, the colors and shades seem to pull you into a three-dimensional world. A golden glow falls across a path, fading into cooler blues as it recedes. Shadows deepen in corners, while brighter hues leap forward. This is a dance between depth and color, a dance your eyes and brain choreograph together. In daily life, this harmony guides us everywhere. When you walk through a sunlit forest, the warm yellows and oranges of leaves touched by sunlight seem closer, while the cool, shaded greens recede into distance. On a snowy evening, the soft blue of shadows on snow stretches space, while the orange of lamplight pulls warmth toward you. These are not accidents, but natural signals your brain has learned to read, blending color with spatial awareness. Artists for centuries have harnessed this truth. The Renaissance masters layered pigments carefully, using warm tones to bring figures to the foreground and cool tones to push landscapes into the distance. Impressionists, with dabs of color, captured light and depth not by detail, but by contrast. Even in cinema today, filmmakers use color grading to guide your eye. Warm tones for intimacy and closeness, cooler tone for openness or distance. Your brain, without conscious effort, accepts these illusions as reality. But the story is not only visual, it is emotional. Depth and color together do more than show you where things are. They tell you how to feel about them. A deep red rose in the foreground seems bold, passionate, commanding attention. A pale blue horizon in the distance feels calm, inviting, infinite. Through this interplay, vision is not just functional, it becomes poetic. Science, too, reveals fascinating secrets. Experiments show that even slight shifts in hue can alter perception of distance. A square painted in a warm color is consistently judged as closer than the same square painted in a cooler shade. Your mind, ever eager to understand space, uses color as one more brushstroke in the masterpiece of vision. And yet, what is most wondrous is how personal this interplay becomes. One person may feel uplifted by the brightness of yellow stretching into the sky, while another may find comfort in the depth of shadowy blues. Just as no two people dream the same dream, no two pairs of eyes see the same world in precisely the same way. Your experiences, your emotions, your very biology all shape how depth and color join together in your mind. Pause now and think of a place that holds meaning for you. Perhaps a childhood room, a favorite park, or a sunset remembered. Can you picture its colors? Do you recall the way some things seem closer, others further away? That memory is painted not just with objects, but with the living union of depth and color. etched into your mind's canvas. In the end, depth and color are not separate at all. They are partners in a single vision, one giving form, the other giving life. Together, they transform flat light into a living, breathing reality. They invite you not only to see the world, but to step into it, to feel its warmth, its distance, its closeness, and its infinite shades. And so, every moment you open your eyes, you are immersed in this masterpiece, a masterpiece painted by the universe, but completed by you. Close your eyes for a moment. Even without the world's light entering, a quiet theater opens within. Shapes linger, memories flicker, colors in the past still shimmer softly. This is vision beyond sight, the mind's own way of seeing. When you dream, your brain paints entire landscapes, faces, and motions, even though your eyes are closed in the stillness of night. When you remember a cherished moment, like a loved one's smile or the glow of a sunset, your mind reconstructs those images with surprising clarity. These inner pictures remind us that sight is not only a physical act, it is also an act of memory, imagination, and spirit. Science tells us that the brain's visual areas do not simply shut down when the eyes are closed. Instead, they hum with interactivity, replaying stored images, combining fragments, and weaving them into scenes. It is why an artist can see a painting before a brush touches canvas, why a composer can picture the stage before a single note is played. The eyes may open the door, but the mind continues the journey. For those who lose their sight, vision beyond sight often grows even more profound. Through sound, touch, and memory, their inner worlds blossom in vivid ways. They describe dreams painted not with light, but with textures, echoes, and feelings. This tells us that vision is not bound only to the eyes, but to the very essence of being human. Even language reflects this truth. We say, "I see your point," or "I see what you mean," though no image is before us. To see is to understand, to imagine, to connect. Vision has always been a metaphor for clarity, insight, and wisdom. So, when your eyes rest at night, when the room grows dark, remember your sight does not end. The mind's canvas stretches infinitely, filled with memories, dreams, and visions yet unpainted. In this way, your world extends beyond the limits of light, carrying you into realms only your inner self can truly behold. When we look at the world, we don't just see lines, colors, and forms. We feel them. A sunrise is not only orange and gold. It is warmth, renewal, hope. A tear in someone's eye is not simply water. It is sorrow, love, compassion. Vision, you see, is not only an act of the eye, but also of the heart. Neuroscientists have discovered that sight and emotion are deeply entwined. The visual pathways of the brain are closely linked with the amygdala, the center of emotional response. This is why a bright smile can immediately lift our mood, why a dark, stormy sky can stir unease, or why a painting can move us to tears. What we see is filtered through what we feel, and what we feel colors what we see. But vision also extends beyond the physical senses, into the quiet realm of intuition. Sometimes you might say, "I just see it clearly," even when no image is before you. Or you may sense danger without seeing the threat, or imagine a possibility that feels real before it unfolds. This too is vision, the unseen sight of the inner self. It is a mind weaving together fragments of knowledge, experience, and instinct to create a picture that guides you. Think of the countless ways humans have envisioned futures long before they arrived. Explorers imagined lands they had never touched. Scientists pictured worlds beyond the stars. Inventors saw machines that had not yet been built. And dreamers everywhere saw a tomorrow brighter than today. In this sense, vision is not only about perceiving the present world, but also about shaping worlds yet to come. Even cultures across time have spoken of vision as a gift beyond the ordinary eye. Prophets, poets, and philosophers described inner sight, the ability to see meaning where others see only matter. Mystics spoke of the third eye, the window to wisdom and truth that cannot be measured by lenses or mirrors. Whether we call it insight, foresight, or imagination, it reminds us that vision stretches far beyond the physical. And perhaps this is why, even in darkness, we are never truly blind. The heart, the mind, and the spirit continue to see in ways no shadow can dim. Vision, dear listener, is more than an act of the body. It is a journey of the soul. From the very first moment a newborn opens their eyes and gazes upon the gentle light of the world, to the final moments of life when memories become the last images we hold, sight guides us, comforts us, and connects us. It is the thread that ties us to nature, the sparkle of sunlight on water, the shimmer of stars across the night sky, the tender green of spring returning after winter. It is the bond that links us to one another, the glance of recognition across a crowded room, the silent language of love spoken with a look, the wordless comfort found in the eyes of a friend. Vision, in every sense, is both gift and guide. But as we explore together, sight is not limited to the eyes alone. It flows through the brain, weaving colors and depth into meaning. It flows through the heart, where emotion shapes how we see. And it flows through the imagination, where the unseen becomes visible and the impossible becomes possible. In this way, vision is not simply the act of observing the world. It is the art of understanding it. There will be times when your eyes close, as they are now, drifting into the quiet rhythm of sleep. But remember, even then, the gift of vision continues. In dreams, your mind paints worlds as vivid as reality. In memory, you revisit the faces and places you love. And in hope, you see paths not yet taken, horizons not yet reached. So let your eyes rest now. Let the way of the days slip away. Beyond sight, there's always vision, a light within, steady and eternal, that guides you gently forward. As our journey through how your eyes see the world comes to a close, I want to thank you for walking softly beside me through each chapter. Together, we have traveled from the delicate gift of vision through the mysteries of the eye and brain, and finally, into the infinite landscapes beyond sight. And now, as the night deepens, may your dreams be gentle, your vision clear, and your rest peaceful. Good night and goodbye.